Hello and welcome to another episode of my Not Your Average Bible Studies. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this is session 17, and today is March 30th, 2025. Hope you are enjoying your sacred Sunday. I have certainly been sacredly living my Sunday today in glory to my Creator and to myself in a very active way, labors of love today through cleaning. Some days when I have lots of to-dos on a Sunday and I cannot just rest and really appropriate as much peace and meditation and calmness as I would like to really embody in the reverence of Sacred Sunday really calls me to, my practice does. Sometimes my schedule does not, but I've found a wonderful way to deepen that, and instead of excusing myself out of it or say, discouraged kind of way that I couldn't follow through with it, I've decided to just live it the way it is being lived and find the sacredness in that. Big inspirations, of course, to Walter Russell. If you are a listener of mine for a long time and you listen to my other series like Deconstructing Distortions and stuff, I have talked numerous times about Walter Russell, and did a whole thing on one of his morning prayers, because he says in the inspiration, a menial task which must be mine, that shall I glorify and make an art of it. And I think that is, such a glory to God, labor and love. Cleanliness is close to godliness. All of these, there's so many sayings, proverbs, that relate to actionary work. And of course, yes, there's the day of rest and nothing to be done. But at the same time, I think we can bring that whole respect and reverence to those actions and to our days in different ways in the present moment, in the current times, when times call for that. And so, today I'm in my afternoon here, and I'm doing my Bible study now after I've had a morning busy, and we'll have a busy afternoon as well. But I'm taking time to myself, and of course to reflect that to the Creator, and hold a space of gratitude and reflection, of course, and take time to read some, wonderful words and see what kind of truth that I see in them. So thanks for listening if you're here. If you're new, this is, like I said, it's kind of different. It's not traditional. I'm reading the New Testament for the first time, and just talking about sort of the metaphysical truths and energetics that I see within the scripture, and also a bit about the story line, and having some beginners types of questions and queries and things like that. So it's sort of personal, and also more of a seeking to understand at a student's level than attempting to be some kind of teacher teaching about what this scripture is, or what the New Testament is, or Jesus' teachings, or anything like that. So welcome. If you welcome that, thanks for listening. I'm going to pick up where we left off last week, which we're in Matthew chapter 10. I read 1 through 14, and without backtracking too much, but also just to sort of circle around and say that understanding the laws of energetics and how service works, service intention is just so important and crucial, and also his knowledge that he's going to get into, and he's already talked, we've had some warnings, from him before, very logical minded, and there's some more to come, and they're so relatable to the times that we're in right now in our world. And I've noted this so many times. I'm on a bit of a repetition, slow my energy down here this afternoon. Revving and ready to go is what I feel like. But yeah, I've noted it so many times that the apocalyptic theme, the fall of the empire in the background of the story, and just the accumulation, the shifting and changes that are so similar to what was happening at that time and now in our days. And so I find the words even more relevant than just the energy alchemy that's so personal and relevant. It's so personal and relevant to the inner journey always, and that journey is always available. It's timeless and eternal, and each one of us is on it on our own way in space. And I do believe Christ consciousness, the Father, the Logos, Source, is a partner on that journey, the guide and the lead, sort of. And that's what Jesus speaks on, and who's leading him, of course, and what he's attempting to really teach to his disciples, to the masses, is to learn that inner conversation and let that be the leader, because that is where it really comes from. But anyways, I don't want to get too much onto my own opinions and my own translations, especially when I'm already 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes into my recording here. So let's actually get into the scriptures and read before we get too carried away. So I left off at 14, so pick it up with 15. Verily, I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. He's so wise and knowledgeable in this sense, and aware of the corruption and of the reasoning behind it, that just like we have here, this sort of, sometimes they say it's a matrix overlay, or, it's just archonic negative systems everywhere. There's this sort of already happening architecture that we're just birthed into, and it's corrupt, it's inverted, it's, it has lots of problems. It's not well designed for freedom, for positivity, for love and growth. It's designed for different things, it seems to me. And I think, yes, same time, different times, same story, same song and dance, right? And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought of how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. This I love, and this I'm going to bring right back and repeat. What he's talking about back in 6 and 7, where he says, actually it's back at 9, really. Provide ye neither gold, nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor script for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor staves, right? For the workman is worthy of his meat. Take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given to you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Right? I like to say living life in a synchronicity walk, but it's living consciously aware of the co-creation and the partnership of that God source communication, that listening to the Father and hearing in the moment, asking and hearing, asking and listening and following and seeking, and Much like you could give it to conscience on the shoulder, sort of Jimmy Cricket thingy, but it's so much bigger and different than that. And it's 100% with speech and with speaking your truth and being given the best way to say a thing, that it just comes out that way. I fully have seen, bear witness to this, and I know the power of the vessel and the instrument and listening and speaking, translating what is being heard. So when I first ever read this, I was like really blown away. I thought, wow, energetic mastery, alchemic master here, And anyway, and yeah, to pick it back up at 20, right? For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the child shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. That in itself, again, to speak of respect of the shadow, of the dark side, of the negative, of the forces, the entities that seek to accumulate in self-serving alignments, negatively standing, holding opposition to the whole. It's a very hard position. It's hard to do. It's ugly, and it's hard to be the bad guy. It's not easy. And I think there's many different verses, and I've talked about this a couple of different times. And of course, there's lots of people there's all these like different conspiracy lines and back explanations and turnarounds and loopings, and to each their own. And we should be able to see curiously and in whatever direction we feel called to until the seeking is fulfilled, and then we should be fine to turn around and come back towards center. That's the exploration of manyness. That's freedom of choice and the free will in action. And if you believe all is under the umbrella of the creative source, and all is of creation, is of source, then how could anything of it be not of it? It's, I think, something Jesus in these scriptures are important about highlighting and acknowledging in themselves and in ourselves even, and to be also aware of how it is to be persecuted for telling the truth, seeking what's good for you and best for you, especially if and when you're found around lots of people in your direct life who live unhealthily or unhappily. It is interesting because when you realign and you seek positivity and you really want to do your best every day and put your best foot forward, forgive yourself, keep moving, the responses and reactions in the direct world around you, I've noticed over many, many years, so many diverse reactions and responses, positive and negative, attractive and repulsive, different energetics, and different co-creative spaces that I used to have big systems built into, and lots of my energy put into with others, even siblings, friends, years spent building different building inside different co-creative and co-habitat type of places that just, to me, are completely foreign now. They have been pushed away, and we have gone our different ways. And unfortunately, in my sense and steering, I feel the truth is what has drawn us apart, seeking wellness and truth and light. And it's and of course, that's the plight of the Christian, I guess, or Christ, the Logos, the Christos within, right? Is that it sets us on this individual journey, this individuated, actionary path that is solely focused on you and your well-being. And until others can understand and break down and see that it's all rooted from a space of unconditional love, and that it's not about, oh, I'm on my best path and no one else can be on their best path, or that my highest path is somehow a little higher than all the rest so I could look down on people. But that we all understand that nothing's measured in that way, and that everybody's highest good is equal-footed, and that it all runs parallel, and we're all sovereignly equal. And that when I wish the highest good of myself, when I say God has favor on me, or that I'm, connected to the Father, it's not like my connection is any different than anybody else's, but in fact, I hope to inspire them to own their connection just as deeply as I own mine. And to be just as aware in their own way of their own deep connection and knowing as they can be. But, and whatever the case might be, and the stakes are, whatever the settings are, clearly there's a variety of humans and intelligence and wantings and desires and connectivities and systems. Lots of service to self is around us. And much like these times, same thing with Jesus' times, there's an accumulation of service to self and a negative alignments. And when we, want to serve ourselves positively, it becomes a sort of, there's a conflict, and much like he has noted many times, it's like when we have these lies and we have negative systems running, we end up with disease within the body as well. We end up unhealthy and unwell. And he's a similar metaphor about the fruit, the tree bearing the fruit. And if the fruit is, good, it tells how the season was. If the fruit is poor, it also tells how the season was. And he really, when he says all about Beelzebub, right, and serving masters and all this kind of stuff, we can take it really cryptic, and we can get into all of the sort of devils and demons, and also draw some parallels through to parasites and these sort of negative consciousnesses within the body, and also maybe perhaps what he means about men, this general term, and Gentiles, and also who and exactly what is the master. And of course he references Beelzebub, and that in itself is its own cryptic word or not, who's to say, and is he talking hygienically? I mean, the Lord of the Flies is a disgusting thing to think of and to hold space for, and to understand that perhaps there's an archangel and there's that part of the cycle. I mean, it has to be represented. It occurs. It's there. And we all have, just like we need physical hygiene, there's mental hygiene, there's spiritual hygiene. And who are we serving truth versus lies, in our own world, in our own choices each day, and our own habits and hobbies, our practices and routines, in, our day-to-day lives, because a lot of what Jesus taught too had a lot to do with clean eating and fasting and very spiritually connected passive life, right? Versus, again, comparatively to what others were living like during that time, and what we're told too. This is, it's all who knows with history, and I haven't dove too deeply into that either, so I don't want to be speaking too much on things I don't know about either. But these are just questions, of course, that I have, and that pop into my mind thinking while hearing these words. There's another kind of stricter, direct interpretations to say that, men and Gentiles and those who are not of Israel, I guess, is the term here that would be most congruent and used most often here in Jesus' own words, to, be a son of the Father, to be a child of the Father, to be an Israelite, I guess, is something different. And he doesn't really, or there isn't here, and perhaps I'm sure there's many different ways to say who is that, of course, but if it's some kind of blood right, passed down, born into it, or you have to be chosen in some kind of way, then in the Gentiles and the men and all of these other designations of separateness and differentness, they really are sort of an insurpassable boundary. They don't belong, one another do not belong together. You can't be one and the other. Sometimes some of the things that he refers to and says in context seem that kind of way. And so it's questioning as well, is he saying that they serve evil and men are sort of the servants of a bad master and bad fruit in general, so there's no point in even trying to save them? That's another kind of version that I kind of feel gets spoken out there, and it's not so nice to think about either. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there and be back next week, or maybe before. We'll see if I pick it up and come in and close it out before the end of the week, because there's just a couple verses left, so it won't be a long one. But as always, I hope you have a beautiful Sacred Sunday. If it's any time in the future, thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day or evening wherever in the world you are. Thanks for your contribution to our collective. We certainly wouldn't be the same without you or me. And I will see you next time.